Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second annual AbleCon, an overview of Florida's disabilities resources. This is our first session of the day, so welcome. We're ready to get kicked off. So really, this session is meant to be a little bit of a crash course on all things Able accounts. So that's going to cover really who is eligible, how it works, and the benefits of opening up an account. My name is Rachel Fackender, and I'm going to serve as the moderator for this discussion. So this morning, I am joined by John Finch, the director of Able United, and Jen Sikora. Jen is mother to Sean and a founding member of the National Able Act. So if you'll remember, as part of the registration process, we asked if you have an Able United account. Well, now we'd like to ask another question via a quick poll, and that's to see how many of our attendees who do not have Able accounts are actually familiar with Able United. So for those watching on Facebook, you will unfortunately not be able to view the poll, but we're going to go ahead and run that for our friends here on Zoom. Okay. See those answers coming in. Thank you to everyone who is answering. We're going to give it about 10 more seconds. Okay. We're going to go ahead and close that poll and share those results with you guys on screen. Okay, so about 61% of you are somewhat familiar. So you guys are in for a real treat today because we're going to help you get more familiar with all things Able accounts. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into the conversation. In 3 weeks' time, we're going to be celebrating 6 years. 6 years since our program began here in the state of Florida. And we are so proud to have provided nearly 10,000 individuals with disabilities of all ages and disability types a new way to save without impacting eligibility for current or future benefit programs like Supplemental Security Income or SSI and Medicaid. But what people don't know is that it all started with a group of parents over 15 years ago. So Jen, I'd like to start this conversation with you. You were one of those parents that sat around a kitchen table and started that important discussion about saving for the future. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about the journey, the legislation, and how we got to where we are today.
I'd be happy to. In 2005, our family was living just outside of Washington, D.C. And my son, Sean, who was 2 at the time and has Down syndrome, really opened our eyes as to thinking about what we need to do to plan for his future, even more so than his older sister. And I worked with a group of parents at our Down Syndrome Association in Virginia. 5 of us sat around a kitchen table brainstorming what are things that we could work on that would really make an impact for not only our kids, but the kids and people across the country. One of the dads says, I have 2 daughters, and my daughter with Down syndrome, I don't have a college savings account for her like her sister because I know when she turns 18 that she's eligible for benefits like SSI. She will probably not be eligible if she has money in an account because we need to change that. We need to be able to save for our kids, and adults need to be able to save for themselves for whatever their future needs might be, regardless of benefits. And we all agreed and we said, this is a great idea. We took it to Capitol Hill. I had a contact from when I had worked up there. And thankfully, Congressman Crenshaw from Jacksonville said, "This is crazy that you can't already do this for your kids, and you should be able to." And so he introduced the legislation for us. We quickly gained co-sponsors in both the House and Senate. It took us over 10 years, though, of introducing that legislation. Parents and self-advocates and community groups lobbying for this change to really provide a level playing field for people with disabilities to save and invest their own money, and then to be able to use it for what they determined was the best use of that money. So in 2014, the legislation passed and was signed into law. I still get chills when I talk about that because it's just such, it's such an exciting thing to see something that was a group of parents saying, we need this change. And we were able to actually do that. And so when the ABLE accounts opened in Florida, Sean became the first account holder in July of 2016.
That's right. And we love bragging about Jen all the time. If you're out and about at events, specifically in the Orlando area, you've likely met Jen. She also serves as one of our brand ambassadors and represents us at events and speaking engagements across the state of Florida. And we have known and loved Jen for, as long as we've known you, 6 years now, and have really enjoyed getting the opportunity to watch Sean grow as well. But let's kind of talk about really kind of where things have gone over the last 6 years, right? How much the program has really grown here in the state of Florida. So John, I'm going to give this question to you. I'd really love to get your perspective on, again, how the program has grown over the last 6 years, and for you to share some of those recent updates that have been happening that really allow increased flexibility in opening an ABLE account here in Florida.
Thanks, Rachel. And before I get started with that, I want to make sure we're all on the same playing field. So I'll give some very high-level basics on ABLE. So ABLE accounts are tax advantage savings and investment accounts. Basically, that allows individuals with disabilities, specific types of disabilities, to be able to put after-tax dollars into the account that they can grow and be used for a variety of qualified disability expenses. So here in Florida, there are 3 requirements. One's unique to Florida. We are limited to Florida residents at the time they're open, the ABLE account. But each state can set up their own ABLE program. And today, I believe 44 states have opened the plans. The next 2 requirements are true for all ABLE programs. One, the individual has to have a diagnosis prior to age 26. Doesn't matter their age now. We have newborns on our program, but we have individuals in their 80s that have an ABLE account because their disability occurred in their youth. And finally, is the disability has to be severe. So either an individual is currently on SSI or SSDI benefits, or if they're not, they self-certify saying they have a diagnosis from a doctor for a severe diagnosis of physical or mental impairments that's going to last basically for the rest of their life. With that, the IRS has provided some categories from individuals. For example, Jen mentioned her son had Down syndrome, so that qualifies, but it could be broader than that with various mental health diagnoses. It could be individuals that experience some kind of difficulty at birth, whether that be cerebral palsy. It could be intellectual disabilities, and even cystic fibrosis, so respiratory type. And there's even a caveat for others. So pretty broad, but it does have to be something that's going to impact their daily routines. And so when these programs first launched, it was pretty limited on who could first open and access an account for an individual. And that was really limited to a parent of a minor, somebody that was serving as a guardian or had power of attorney. And as the states as a whole, we said, we know that it takes a village to help raise a child, regardless if they have a disability or not, as I have 3 young ones myself and can attest to that. But we sought the IRS to expand, and they actually came back and said, okay, well, let's broaden this and create a hierarchy of individuals who could establish an account, from a power of attorney, a guardian, to family members. So it could be a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, even all the way down to a representative payee under Social Security. So pretty broad. And we're actually able to implement that hierarchy last December. And so now, for example, we might have group home providers on today's call that they say, I serve in that capacity, and my individuals are starting to be over assets for Medicaid or SSI. You know, they're starting to have more than $2,000. And an ABLE account is a great way to dump that in. And we have a way for you to establish those accounts on behalf of the residents you serve, or the customers you serve. So that was one thing. Also, we know that many programs require a lot of red tape. So you had to upload documentation. So we now move back to a self-certification process. So that means when you go on and say, yes, I'm the parent, or I'm the legal guardian or power of attorney, whatever that capacity, if the individual can't serve or manage their own account and this other person stepping in to do that, you don't have to upload those documentations, nor do you have to upload your diagnosis documentation. We ask that you self-certify that you meet those, and if the IRS was to ever audit the individual, that you would have those documents available for them. And that was also implemented in December as well. And what's also unique to Florida is when individuals contribute to ABLE accounts, that amount you can contribute annually, $16,000, actually went up in the beginning of January. And so it's pretty exciting to allow that flexibility and allow additional individuals to contribute. But since we have launched, it's been amazing. As Rachel mentioned, we're getting close to 10,000. I think we'll hit it, if not by the end of the year, early next year, of how many people enrolled. But since we launched 6 years ago, here's some stats for you. Over $70 million has been contributed to ABLE United, and that's just here in Florida. You know, nationwide, all the programs together now manage over $1 billion across the country for individuals with disabilities who are saving for a better life experience, which is what the acronym ABLE stands for. Since we've launched, over $16 million have been distributed from ABLE accounts to pay for a variety of qualified disability expenses. Also, since launch, we've done some great, exciting things, whether that be our FDIC savings option, or even our prepaid reloadable debit card to give people additional flexibility. So just a lot of exciting things happening with ABLE United, and looking forward to the future.
Love that. And, you know, to John's point, we're always listening to our account holders, right? If they, you know, say we want, you know, X, Y, or Z, that would, you know, make things, you know, a little bit easier for us, or make, you know, getting and maintaining our account a little bit more flexible. So there's ever any questions that you have, or suggestions for the overall, you know, program and what we offer, we always welcome, you know, you all to come and tell us those things. Or to email John directly at info@ableunited.com. We're always willing and able to do what we can to, again, provide that increased flexibility for those that have ABLE accounts. Now, I want to turn it back over to Jen, right? So we've talked a little bit about, you know, why ABLE, and, you know, what it allows individuals to do. But Jen, what do you think is, and this is a hard question, what is the single greatest benefit for someone to open an ABLE United account for themselves or for a loved one, in your opinion?
For us, it was absolutely that peace of mind that we could start saving when Sean was younger for whatever he might need as he got older. After we opened his ABLE account, he had an additional medical diagnosis that is complicated, and he's going to have lifetime. And so for us to know that when we are gone, or if something happens to one of us, we've got money that's set aside that is not going to impact him losing SSI, because now he's over 18, he's 19 now, and he's getting that SSI payment. I know it's hard to believe. He was such a little guy when we started. But now I can actually take some of his monthly SSI payment, put it into his ABLE account, let it grow and earn the interest on it, and then when we need to, we can use it for qualified disability expenses. So really that peace of mind that we can finally do something that's not going to be detrimental or take away, as parents, we are used to, if you get one thing, you have to give something up in our special needs or disability world. That is not the case with ABLE accounts. And that's also why I love going out and talking to people so that they understand this is really something that's going to be beneficial for you and you're not going to lose anything by opening it up.
Right. That's one of the number one questions that we get. Okay, this sounds great, but what's the catch? Well, the truth is there really isn't a catch. And we always want people to at least try us out, see if it is right for you and your family or your loved one. Now, Jen, threw out a couple of buzzwords. And so now I want to kind of move into how an account works. So John, I'm going to have you kind of walk through a little bit who can contribute to an account and if there are any limits. I know you kind of talked about that a little bit, the $16,000, but kind of dive into more of how much an individual can contribute and save, and then also talk about withdrawals and how people can utilize funds saved in their account.
Thanks, Rachel. And so when we're talking about contributions, so the account is set up primarily online, ableunited.com. If you haven't gone to yet, you need to go ahead and go there now. Enrollment's primarily done online. And with that, you usually, when you set the account initially, have a connected bank account, whether that be the person setting on behalf of an individual or that individual's bank account, if they have one. Once that's funded, they can continue to contribute through the ABLE account from that connected bank account. But anybody can contribute to an ABLE account, whether that be family members, organizations, business. The rule is, though, that it is $16,000 per calendar year from all sources. So this is a commingled funds, if you would say. That's a term that's used for Social Security, I know sometimes. But yeah, it could be the beneficiary. Maybe they're working and putting their money into the ABLE account. In that situation, it is important to note that even though somebody might be earning additional funds, even if they directly deposit that into an ABLE account, it still counts as earned income for Social Security and IRS purposes. And so when somebody's ready to make a withdrawal, the account's set up, let's say, 3-4 years down the road, or even, a couple weeks down the road, and something comes up, you want to start taking funds out of the account. How do you do that? And there's 3 primary ways. One can be a ACH distribution back to that connected bank account or one of the connected bank accounts. It can be an online check request to the beneficiary or to any third party. So maybe, you're paying your rent or something. You can do that by submitting online, putting in where that check needs to go to and the amount. Or one of our newer features is our prepaid reloadable debit card. It's a Visa debit card. We've partnered with TrueLink Financial, which gives access to individuals for that card. It can be used anywhere ABLE Visa debit cards are used. And it provides that additional flexibility. As Jim was mentioning, I can't believe Sean is 19, blows my mind. But maybe she's like, okay, maybe he wants to go to the mall and go shopping and using that account. And really, that's, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, but that's probably the second most question we're asked is, what are qualified disability expenses? How can I use the funds in the ABLE account? And so the Treasury kind of gave us 13 broad categories, including housing, transportation, medical, financial oversight and monitoring. It could be used for even basic living expenses. The only example they gave us is, let's say you had an individual who maybe was diagnosed with a disability that prevents them from communicating well, then a cell phone and a cell phone plan would be a qualified disability expense. And so I usually tell individuals the baseline is it for the individual with a disability, and is it going to help improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life? And so you think about that, independence and quality of life. So vacations, maintaining that could be, grocery shopping, maybe getting a gym membership. That would probably be a qualified disability expense. It's usually, giving the money away would be not a qualified expense, so they can't go shopping for somebody else or, throwing somebody else a birthday party. Using those funds to go gambling probably would not be a qualified disability expense. Tobacco, and then anything illegal on a federal level would not be a qualified disability expense. So it's pretty broad. I know we get that question a lot, and there's a lot of specific questions like, I want to go on a cruise. Can I use my ABLE account? And we always encourage individuals to do that. And what's also unique is just, not only can family and friends help you set up, but once you have an account established, there's a way to open up an online gifting portal so people can make contributions to your ABLE account online via ACH or a debit card. So pretty amazing, pretty broad. And that's the question we get. People want specifics, and the Treasury and the IRS have said, no, we're not going to give you specifics, but it is to be construed broadly is the term they use, but not unlimited. So yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of putting money in the account and getting out.
So in addition to being a savings account, we're also an investment account. So John, I want you to talk a little bit, very high level about what investment options are offered, and how, individuals can, rebalance or reinvest their funds. So talk a little bit about the investment side of the house.
Thanks, Rachel. So I recently just returned from a national conference where many of the other ABLE programs and states were at, and we were discussing, this is one of the topics of discussion was that a panel I sat on was 6 years ago was the products that we were offering, the financial investment and savings options being offered, was that the right choice? And I think pretty unanimously, we think at this point it is, because we know that individuals that we serve have a variety of experiences when it comes to saving and investing, from individuals that might not even have a bank account to individuals I actually spoke with a couple of weeks ago to an investment manager for a firm whose son has an ABLE account, and was looking to have more investment options. So a broad spectrum. And so when we launched a program, we decided, we want to make this as ease of use for most people, and to provide some options in the investment side. So we have 3 pre-designed portfolios. So those are risk tolerance based portfolios. So moderate, conservative, and growth. And then people that have even more investment experience can invest in some of those underlying funds, which are type through Vanguard or BlackRock. They're mutual fund type products, so very diversified, broad products. But we know a lot of individuals were just looking to save, to have perseverance. So a few years ago, we were able to launch an FDIC savings account. Low risk, but low return, but it provides that assurance of an FDIC product. And the great thing is anytime somebody puts money in, they can choose, is it saving, is it investment? It's up to them. And then same for the withdrawal. When they want to make a distribution from their ABLE account, they could choose any of the options they have in there. So really a flexibility. And so our goal, if you haven't visited our website, under the savings and investments section, we kind of do a breakdown of all those products and encourage individuals to check that out, as well as performance of any of those investment options are available on our website as well.
So we've talked a lot about saving and spending and investing, and Jen, I'm just curious if you'd share with those that are joining us today, how are you guys utilizing Sean's ABLE account?
So right now we're using it to protect his monthly SSI income, but as well using that feature for friends and family who might want to give him a birthday gift, because he really doesn't need anything else at this point. And we have not, he's still enrolled in school full time. So we haven't actually taken any money out of his account since we've opened it. We've been able to manage things, but we know that it's there when we need it. And we know things can change very quickly. And so it's just kind of sitting there, growing nicely and hanging out for when we're ready to use it. I do help manage the account for him. He's not able to do that on his own. And that's a question that I get from a lot of other people when I'm out and talking to parents. Sean does, he has the flexibility. If he wants to use the prepaid card, he could. Again, we have to be careful where he goes because just keeping an eye on him. Now you don't get too crazy with it, but yeah. So that's what we're doing right now, is really just kind of letting the money stay and grow until there's a really significant need, because we know he may need that in the next few years.
Absolutely. And we get tons of questions of, again, about qualified disability expenses or just stories. And we love hearing those stories. And so if you have a really great story of, how you've saved and utilized your ABLE account, we of course encourage you to share that story with us. You can message us on Facebook or email us directly. Again, that email address is info@ableunited.com. We've heard stories of people saving to go to college, to buy their first car, or to buy a wheelchair accessible van, or even wheelchair repairments or a brand new wheelchair. We also had an account holder who just got married and she paid for her wedding with her ABLE account. And so the stories are just amazing. And we love hearing them again. So, but, Jen brings up a good point, and this is a frequently asked question. And I actually see it in the Q&A box too, of, what happens when the account administrator or the caregiver unfortunately passes away? How, can we transition the account administrator kind of status to another person? And John, can you help us answer that question?
Yes. Before we do that, I kind of give a basics of how this works with public benefits, so we'll make sure we're all on the same page. So generally, funds in the ABLE account are disregarded as an asset or resource. Basically, it doesn't count towards that $2,000 limit for individuals on any of the federally means tested programs. The biggest ones being supplemental security income and Medicaid. Now, for those on SSI, there are some additional rules, specifically on if these accounts grow past 100,000, those could count towards that $2,000 limit. People that are not on SSI, these accounts can actually go up to 418,000. So, it's going to take you 20 plus years. Let me know when you get there. And then also using this account for housing related expenses while on Social Security, primarily just make sure you use the funds in the same month or have the ABLE account pay it directly. So that could impact SSI benefits. And then we get the question, well, Social Security, do I need to report this? As a state, we report monthly to the Social Security Administration about ABLE accounts. The other one is Medicaid. Individuals are afraid, we get this a lot, if the beneficiary passes away and they were on Medicaid, the state's just going to take all the funds in the ABLE account. And that's not true. Usually funds are first distributed for outstanding qualified disability expenses. So those could be for funeral and burial, if they had outstanding bills or were living in a home, those types of qualified disability expenses are paid. And then if there's any money left, it would go to the estate of the beneficiary, which may go to, depending on how that's set up, to the family members. If they're over the age of 55, their estate may receive a Medicaid claim on it if they're on Medicaid. So usually, but if they're younger, there's no worries about that. But that's typically how funds are distributed after somebody passes away.
Let's also talk about too, right? If the account administrator passes away, how do we kind of transition that status to another, family member or, a representative payee?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that a lot as parents start planning and thinking of, what happens when I pass away? Who's the next one in line that's going to assist my family member, whether that be a sibling or an organization? And the great news is I always tell jokingly, there's a form for it. And so we do have a change of what we call an ALR, authorized legal representative. That's the person that's kind of the account manager. We know that the funds in the account, the owner of those funds are the beneficiary with the disability. But if somebody is managing their account, or maybe later in life, they're no longer capable of managing their funds in an ABLE account, somebody could step into that role. And it is a simple form that allows you to change that.
Awesome. And so I see lots of questions are still coming in. Thank you for those. We are answering them in real time, but also taking again some of them as we go through each of our sessions. But we are quickly coming to a close to our very first session of AbleCon. So John, Jen, I want to open up the floor for any last words on why those attending who don't have an ABLE account perhaps should consider opening one. So Jen, I'm going to let you take this first.
For me, I think it's amazing that individuals with disabilities or somebody who's acting on their behalf can do this in the comfort of your own home, 24/7 when it works for you, and you only need $25 to open your account. That was the intention behind creating ABLE accounts, not only preserving the ability to save and have benefits, but that you do not need to hire a lawyer like you would for a special needs trust or spend thousands of dollars, that it really is something that you can do on your own without having to jump through a lot of hoops. It took me about 15 minutes to set Sean's account up. And that's why I encourage parents, if you have $25, please do it. Just you will be so happy once you've done it.
Okay, John, what about you?
So I can't really top what Jen said, but I hear from many individuals is just get it done. Our goal was to make this ease to get into the program, and I hear from parents all the time that after they've done it, they feel a sense of accomplishment, that they got something done for them.
Okay, looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Apologize to everyone. But I think what John was really going to say is that, the time is now. So don't wait. You can open up an account at any time. It doesn't matter how old you are. Really, it's like anything when it comes to saving, is that the earlier you get started, the better. So we really encourage that. And again, if you ever have any questions or hesitations, there are lots of ways for you guys to reach us and to ask questions. So we're going to go ahead and wrap us up here today. So knowledge is power. And, we so appreciate you all, whether you're a prospective account holder or an account holder, account administrator, or a service provider, for tuning in for our first session today. So again, it's never too early to start saving for the future. I know John touched on this in the beginning. Our youngest account holder is just 6 months old, and our oldest is well into their late 80s. So we hope that you all will take advantage of our rainy day promotion or share with those that you serve, going on now through June 30th, where we're going to be giving away a $50 account contribution to all new account holders, which is really exciting. So now is the time to take advantage and to go ahead and open up your very own ABLE accounts. So we are going actually to be heading into our first 10-minute break, and we'll be right back for our next session titled Employable, a roundtable on employment and ABLE accounts with our friends from the ABLE Trust in Vocational Rehabilitation. We'll see you soon.